You're a busy professional. You don't have time for fluff. You need strategies that work, and you need them fast. Welcome to Busy Bro Fast Wellness with me, your host, Alan Welch. We're here to give you science-backed hacks and actionable tips to boost your focus, minimize friction.
The bus is 5 minutes late, and your body is thinking, snake, tiger. It is okay to eat meat and butter. It really is.
Hello and welcome back to Busy Pro Fast Wellness. Today I'm joined by Beverly Meyer, who is a clinical nutritionist who's been working in natural health since the 1980s and who's been on her own personal health journey since the early 70s. She's the voice behind the long-running podcast Primal Diet, Modern Health, and her website ondietandhealth.com is jam-packed with hundreds of practical articles and resources focusing on food, sleep, hormones, and long-term wellness. Beverly is known for her food-first philosophy and her focus on getting to the root cause of health issues, not just managing the symptoms, but also helping people build a healthier, more comfortable life through simple, hands-on changes. Beverly, it's great to have you with us. I hope and trust that you are doing well today.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. That was a nice introduction. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's just jump straight in then. So what is something that doctors often miss that you see all the time in your practice?
Well, the trend in natural medicine, functional medicine, or just basically anyone trying to help another person is to add supplements, add medications, to add something.
Yeah.
And the big core of my work is, okay, a client comes to me, they say, I've got, PMS and migraines and rheumatoid arthritis, and I don't sleep well, and I snore, and I get colds a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that's what I do is work on all that. So if we want to change a person's life, which is what all that list means to me, you're asking me to help you with change your life.
Yeah.
Then I have to help you change your chemistry. So what doctors and practitioners miss is they're not addressing the big chemistry, which is what we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, the how we think, and how we live, and that just adding a few pills or supplements or whatever on top of that does not permanently let the body make corrections. The body wants to make corrections, and it's our job as patients as well as practitioners is to figure out, well, what's in the way. And so for me, I always start clients with some food upgrade. It's like, okay, no, I'm not going to just sell you pills. You've got some work to do. Let's talk about that.
Okay. So you'll probably go to nutrition as one of those sort of standard pillars straight away. So if someone has been told everything looks normal, but they're still feeling really bad, what's the first sort of red flag they ought to look out for themselves? What would you say?
Well, there again, we have to, as patients, we have to look at the big picture. What is it when you say, I feel bad, or, oh, I just feel tired? Well, the more you analyze yourself, your patterns, what's going on, what made a good day, what made a bad day. Oh, I do notice I get really bloated when I eat yogurt, or whatever the clues are.
Yeah.
that it's up to us to journal or whatever we do to look at how can I understand what's going on with me so that we can be better patients and communicate better. And when you say everything looks normal, well, that's another thing. I'm a clinical nutritionist. We're not dietitians. We're not nutritionists. We work with the chemistry of the body, the labs, the cellular, what's happening inside the cell. How is zinc helping your pancreas communicate things? So, it's very much more scientific. And and one of the tricks people don't realize about lab work is that there's a range when you get a lab work on paper, a blood work, there's a range there,
Mm.
say 20 to 100, and you're at 24. So therefore you're in perfect range.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, think about that for a minute. You want to be kind of, and most likely you want to be in the middle of the range. And unfortunately doctors aren't trained that way. They're what little training they have in labs and nutrition is anything marked with a big red high or a big red low,
Yeah.
and they don't look at anything else. So I encourage clients to get copies of their labs
Right.
and look and see which of these are near the top or near the bottom, and see if you can't draw some conclusions, some picture about that. Like
Y-
maybe they're all in the red blood cell, hemoglobin, hematocrit, iron range, even though they may be close to normal, they're all at the dead bottom, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. No, because is it possible to actually get that? And these days, if you go to the doctors and you have your bloods taken, can you easily access all of the results? I mean, I can here in Spain. I go, for my annual check, and I will be able to get those results. I can take them back home, print them off, and then I could actually look at them all to see. Because as you say, it's all very well that a doctor saying, "Oh, right, yeah, you're fine," because you're really only just in that parameter that you're supposed to be within, so that's fine. But in actual fact, uh, people need to know what they can do to get into that more middle range. And I know, so that's my first question. And the second question is really about um,
Portal.
nutrition, because I don't know if things have changed. In the past, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, it depends on countries, that doctors were not really taught very much about nutrition whatsoever. So therefore, they're not prescribing this as a better form to help their health, which we know is one of the really important pillars of health. So that's really a two-part question. Sorry to thrush that upon you. Really, the first one is access to that, to the results. The second, doctors with nutrition, are they now given more training in that area?
Well, yes, it's up to the patient to ask, okay, where's my portal? How do I get my numbers? Can I
Yeah.
get a hard copy of this to share with, for example, my chiropractor or my nutritionist or my coach, whatever?
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I unfortunately tend to get labs from people now on their portals, and I keep telling them, no, I can't see your portal. You have to print it out for me,
Yeah.
or at the very worst, send me 6 screenshots of the 2 pages of labs,
Yeah.
and then I can transcribe and write that down. In the old days, people had a hard copy of
Yeah.
a page and a half of labs. And here in the United States, I don't know about anywhere else, but we have consumer labs where you can go and order and pay for your own blood work
Yeah.
completely outside the medical system. And those always come back in hard printed copy,
Okay.
um, that way. And
Yeah.
then no, doctors do not have nutrition. That they have an hour or something to tell your patients no red meat, no fat, and they're just supposed to eat a lot of bread and salad, and and that's about it.
Oh no. Oh no.
And of course,
Okay.
what we know now is that we're hunters, we're gatherers. Our systems evolved to eat what we now call pastured meat, to eat,
Yeah.
pastured animals, and to gather all the edible vegetation that we could.
Mm.
And we've had fire forever. So, it's cooked food is what we are used to at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I go. I'm one of the co-founders of what we call the paleo diet, the Paleolithic diet.
Wow.
I was working with that way before it had a name,
Amazing.
uh, and myself and in my own clients. So we have more vegetables, more produce than any other diet in the world,
Fantastic.
and yes, we're absolutely allowed to eat healthy animals and that fats from healthy animals. That's what we evolved to eat.
Really, it's fascinating because I've interviewed various people on the show, and I've gone from all the extremes, really. From veganism to carnivore, and obviously ketogenic, and this paleo. For me, that's the beautiful spot. The paleo diet is the one that I would gravitate, and I gravitate towards that one now because I'm a great fan of. I didn't used to eat much meat, and now I'm eating more meat, eggs, much more protein, and of course I've always loved fruits and vegetables anyway, so that's the way that I would go. So I'm really happy that you are, and I did listen to one of your podcasts, and I do know that you are one of the pioneers of that sort of diet. So fantastic on that.
Well, I encourage people to think this way, Alan, is if if all living creatures, a cat, a tree, um, a human, a squirrel, we all have foods that are our best foods. A tree has very distinct nutritional needs, and of course it will vary with the type of tree, for example.
Yeah.
But cats, they're obligate carnivores. That's what they eat. And people
Mm.
buy food with potatoes and flour and corn and tomatoes and stuff. Like cats don't eat that. That's that, get a cat appropriate diet. Well, so that's what I'm teaching. Get a human appropriate diet. And
Yeah.
here's a simple way is I tell my clients, I say, when you're in the store and you're holding something in your hand, think about this. Could I have eaten this food in this form at this frequency 100,000 years ago?
Yeah.
And that's a really simple question. And like carnivores, well, the problem with carnivore is we don't just eat um, hooves and tails and collagens and organs and muscles and all that stuff that an animal provides. We always ate other things, the
Yeah.
nuts and the whatever greenery or tubers we'd find or mushrooms and so on. We've always eaten that.
Yeah.
And our we are not as healthy as we used to be because we have chemicals and antibiotics and
Mm.
life stress and forever chemicals and so on. And people on carnivore will feel can feel great on that for a short time because they're off of the grains.
Yeah.
And this is the foundation of paleo, ancestral, biological, the diet for human beings. The thing that's absolutely mandatory in them is that humans did not evolve to bend over and graze on grass seed.
Mm.
And so it's the number one rule of whatever you call it, biological, primal, ancestral. Paleo is no grains, wheat, corn, rice, oats, barley. We didn't eat those things, and our digestive systems can't handle them. It just turns them into fat.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on a little bit because I have a question which is about energy, really. So, if someone is low on energy and not sleeping well and feeling stressed, what are the first two or three things you would fix starting
Well,
today?
that's three things: energy, sleep, and whatever, not feeling well. But um, eh, first of all, when you get off of the high carb foods
Yeah.
and get your diet settled down to it's kind of paleo's like a modified Mediterranean diet, meats and vegetables and so on, and very small amounts of grains, no dairy except butter, the fat from dairy. But when you get settled into a more stabilizing diet and you eat on time. So eat on
Mm.
time, sleep on time.
Yeah.
And we have all our circadian rhythms, and they're very complex things depending on the time of the day or night that go on. Um, the liver cleans itself generally between 1 and 3. I mean, there's obscure things happening. And so um, we need consistency
Mm.
in hearty meals, 3 times a day, whatever, and eating and sleeping on time. And I often hear people say my adrenals are fatigued. I say, well, let's get your food straightened out. Let's get you going to bed on time and not drinking alcohol, which we all know disturbs our sleep.
Yeah.
Do you snore? Does your bed partner snore? Do you have dogs crawling all over you in the bed? Do you need a sleep apnea test? I'm big on that.
Mm.
So it's like anything else. When you raise a question, you need to rule in and rule out.
Yeah.
What am I not thinking could be a problem? It could be the 4 dogs in bed with me that wake me up 20 times. Maybe that's why I'm tired.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that obviously what I aim to my audience is really sort of busy professionals. So I always try to keep things as practical and as simple as possible with whatever I do. And one of the areas that I would find that sometimes people find it quite difficult because of their own stress levels, because of work, their own professional lives, in order to maintain or to get into a rhythm that is consistent, where they do have those blocks of time where they have that 3-hour window after they've eaten their last meal and go to bed. Do you have any sort of any suggestions or tips on how people can overcome that type of problem of consistency and breaking the habits that they were forced to go into? What could help in that
Well,
situation?
first off, you don't need 3 hours from food to bed. That's not necessary. I mean, yes, you're not going to eat a 12-ounce steak 20 minutes before bed. That's just not going to work.
Okay.
But so I basically, I mean, professionals, we know. I've been in business for decades, and
Yeah.
we know we have a calendar, we have time commitments, we know that we are able to set up our times. You have to leave at certain time to catch the bus or the train, whatever. So your bedtimes and your eat times, you've just got to phase them in. And I set my appointments based around what my eating schedule is.
Yeah.
And that's we're professionals. You have to do that. And one of the big tricks, though, and that I'm big on, is having people do a batch cooking 1 day a week, like
Yeah.
take a half a day, a Sunday morning, whatever, and
Mm.
cook, pounds and pounds and pounds of burgers on the grill and a couple of chickens in the oven, and a couple pounds of pastured beef in the slow cooker,
Yeah.
and use a big steamer where you can steam pounds of vegetables one after another after another after another,
Yeah.
and just cook everything plain. Cook it
Yes.
plain. Don't mess with the recipe and fussing with it. Just get it not raw anymore.
You know what?
And
That's so you really hit on the money on that one. I mean, batch cooking is something that people keep on prescribing. It's such. I've never done it. I've fallen into the trap of cooking each night, and I feel that that really could save so much aggravation and time and
it
cleaning up.
does.
It really, yeah, that's a great tip.
It's you want an assembly line going on there.
Yeah,
And I mean, I live alone, and I've got 1 or 2 ovens, the grill, a crock pot, and maybe a couple of big pans on the oven, all on the stove, all going at the same time,
yeah,
because I'm cooking a lot of food quickly and simply without recipes or anything. I use a lot of steaming and grilling in the slow cook, and then there are certain things that I'll bake. But then you let it all cool, and then you put lids on it and shove it in the refrigerator, and phew,
mm,
that's done. And you don't think about it. And then the next meal you have, or even the next morning, you open the fridge and ta-da, you've
yeah,
got there's salmon and asparagus and zucchini and
yeah,
steamed cabbage. It's all there, and you can pack up meals to go
yeah,
for your
exactly.
lunch and your afternoon snack and whatever. And you can do all that in 5-10 minutes, and you put 3-4 meals together. So because it's
Yeah.
all already done, and then you can flavor or season it. This one needs garlic. I'm going to put hot sauce and chives on this one, and like that.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Really good advice. I'm If I were to ask you to commit one way or the other, which I'm sure you probably won't, This is my anticipation of this one. But obviously, some people might think, oh, I find everything difficult. I'm not organized enough, and everything's so overwhelming at the moment. My life's absolutely hectic. What's the easiest place to start? Would it be food, nutrition, or would it be sleep?
Well, the first place to start is again schedule. That when you schedule your food and sleep, you know when your commute time is, you know when your food needs to be ready. You
Yeah.
can, put your appointments around it. So that's that. But the other thing is we basically planet wide uh, are very low in the GABA neurotransmitter, which nobody's ever heard of, but which I was diagnosed with a big problem in it for 13, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And GABA, GABA, and it's one of the four main neurotransmitters. And um, we're we're all in information overload. I mean, we all are. That's why you have to get rigid to what I can do, what I can't do, and make schedules for it. But but we use a lot of passion flower herb in my practice. It's in my online store, but I like tinctures because you can vary the dose
Mm,
depending on the day, the time, the need. If you buy something in a capsule, it may be too strong for you. You might not want to take that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon before a meeting, but a couple of squirts of passion flower tincture might just settle you down. You're going to have a more calm, workable meeting.
yeah.
So we use passion flower and other herbs in a glycerin base, which people don't know about. But instead of getting herbs in an alcohol base, you can get them in a glycerin base, and they're
Okay.
sweet. This means you can wake up in the middle of the night, you're restless, your mind is working. You can reach over to your table and take a couple of big squirts of passion flower glycerin tincture and, count backwards from 1,000 and, to make your mind shut up. And little tricks like that, passion flower, California poppy, skullcap, all those are great. And the other thing to help you sleep better is GABA that you can buy in a chewable lozenge. And if you go to the store, most places you can find GABA, GABA. It's the wrong type of GABA, however. It
Oh,
won't cross the blood-brain barrier. What you need, people can see it in my online store, but it's pharma GABA, like pharmaceutical,
yeah.
pharma GABA. And it's a chewable lozenge. You can take a half or one or two right before bed, chew it up, and it will just, whew, it'll shut down, not shut down, that's the wrong word, but it'll really calm the body and the mind and your breathing and your thinking.
Wow.
And, you're going to just mellow out. And
That's
if you wake up at 4 in the morning, well, maybe take a half of a pharma GABA,
okay.
or take a couple big gold squirts of that passion flower.
Okay.
And those things are going to help you obviously be more rested,
Yeah.
but that's going to help you be calmer. And I'm a big believer in taping your mouth before sleep. So there are many kinds of mouth tapes on the market.
Yeah.
I've got 3 podcasts and articles on that. That there's specific mouth tapes so that your mouth does not drop open while you breathe, so you don't snore, and that can be game changing right there.
Yeah. Obviously, these things are for people. I did a couple of podcasts recently on the topic of sleep, very practical tips, because the first podcast was more about the importance of sleep. And then somebody got in contact with me and said, yeah, but what about people who can't sleep, who suffer
Right.
from sleeping? So I looked at some practical tips. But what you just mentioned there, I mean, I have heard of GABA because through reading your website and stuff. So I know about that now, but I didn't know about the idea of obviously that tip of taping the mouth, for example. But I just wrote that down because GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter for the brain, which
Yes.
reduces stress, anxiety, and fear. I had to write that down because just to get my own head around that myself. So
It's
yeah,
it is.
that's a good tip. Good tip.
GABA is the main inhibitory neurotransmitter.
Mm.
Serotonin is its partner, so they work together. And then dopamine and acetylcholine are excitatory neurotransmitters. So we need a balance of all four.
Right.
And what's happening in modern life with all of our stresses and worries is our brain is cranking out the alarm excitatory neurotransmitters. Oh, phone's ringing. Oh, the bus is here. Oh, my kid fell down. Oh, I forgot to turn the laundry on. It's this constant train of alarm, if you will, and our brains are not made for that. So we kind of that's to me the true source of what we call burnout, is that we didn't evolve with a whole lot of GABA in the first place, and now we're using it up by the gallon, if you will, and we're just very, very deficient in the calming herbs that work with GABA. And by the way, this is also why we get addicted to alcohol and sedative drugs and heroin or whatever, is that they all attach to the GABA receptor.
Right.
So our bodies are looking for GABA, and somebody may find it in oxycodone, somebody else may find it in alcohol, somebody else may find it in heroin, but we're all looking for the same thing, is
Ah,
it's
interesting.
just too much. The world is too much, and I can't do everything. And we get anxious or angry or depressed or whatever. And anyway, it's a
Yeah.
big, big story and a big question, and getting a little GABA support can be life-changing.
Okay. I mean, this is a random question then. So, if you get your source of GABA, could that help people who have an alcohol addiction, not addiction, but a dependency, let's say, and just they crave that nightly, beer or wine or whatever? That could actually help them with that issue. Would that be?
Absolutely. Yes,
Oh, interesting.
absolutely. Because it's when we go to, as the phrase is badly, self-medicate, the brain is sorting through, well, what options do I have? Let's see, I could go buy some heroin, I could drink, 4 beers, or I could take, passion flower or whatever, or I could go to the casino and gamble for 6 hours. The brain will look and see what are my options
Okay.
to calm down and satisfy the unnameable needs that my body is trying to express to me.
Yeah.
I need something. And
Y-
what it needs is we say less stress. I'm like, yeah, but what does that mean? What The stress may not go away, but our ability to handle things is the key. And think of an air traffic controller, right? They've got, you know, they've got a lot of stress
Of
happening
course. Yeah.
instantly right now. But so the stress isn't going to change. But if they're hungry and they didn't sleep, or they don't know little things about herbs that keep them stable, they're not going to be able to do as good a job. So
Mm.
that the body's asking for help, and it'll peruse whatever options you give it to try to pick one.
Okay. Interesting. That's absolutely fascinating. I'm really pleased that you've mentioned that. I feel that I've learned something quite substantial for that. That's brilliant. So, what's one overlooked factor that can dramatically improve how someone feels on a day-to-day basis? Something that people don't necessarily think about.
Well, clearly your food and your sleep are, if you're not sleeping, and here's where sleep apnea comes in. I just got diagnosed with sleep apnea, but it's
Oh,
it's pretty common after the age of 65.
okay.
And if people snore, or they wake up sometimes coughing or gasping, and their partner says, "Honey, you stopped breathing last night. Go to the doctor," and then they ignore it. Um, Headaches on rising or during the night, headaches, that's a classic sign of sleep apnea because you're not getting good oxygen. And then this excessive daytime fatigue, because when you have sleep apnea, it's completely invisible to you. You do not know it. You
Right.
are sort of asleep and having all these episodes all night long where you're not breathing. Your airway is closed off. And we don't know we have apnea. So that's why the signs of excessive daytime fatigue, or morning headaches, or snoring, or gasping,
Mm.
or coughing, waking up, coughing in the night, um, and there are others, but they're easy home tests now that
Okay.
just gauge what your breathing was, and did you have big dips in your
Mm.
oxygen, like an oximeter would show. And then you can have a more complete home sleep test. And I've been on a CPAP 5 months, and it's work. You have to figure it out. But I've got sleephq.com, which is a terrific website with people from all over the world that share sleephq.com. They share, hey, I can't figure this setting out on my machine. My doctor says this, but I feel better this way. What should I do? Whatever. And then people respond themselves and say, I had that exact same problem on that machine, or boost this or take that. Anyway,
Right. Okay.
sleep, it's all about sleep and food, and being able to allow your mind to sort through the priorities. It's being presented at every moment in time. Whoa, that's a lot of noise. Can I ask person at the next desk to turn their headphones down? Or it's 65 degrees in here. Can we manage the temperature? Or, oh my gosh, I forgot my lunch again. What am I going to do? So we have to prioritize sometimes very simple things that help us just feel calmer and more comfortable,
Yeah.
and the body can respond to that, and you won't be so overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of hone in on something practical, if people want to suddenly feel less stress or calmer and with respect to their body, do you have any kind of tips or ways that they could do that instantly?
Absolutely, the passion flower tincture. Get passion flower tincture in a glycerin base. I have a client that every month he orders 5 bottles.
Yeah.
And one day I asked him, I said, what's with the five? And he said, I've got one in the car, one by my bed, one in the kitchen, one in my backpack, and one on my desk at work.
Okay. Wow.
Because, I may be driving, and then all of a sudden, oh no, oh no, 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 no. And then he's got a little anxious thing happening. Or, somebody calls at work. He's like, oh no, I have to talk to Mr. Smith. He's
Yeah.
always got his passion flower handy, and it works quite quickly, quite
And
quickly.
in if it works, does it help with focus or does it help calm the mind or give
Yes,
them more? Gives it
everything,
more energy?
everything. It
But
does
it's,
all of that.
oh,
Well,
really?
you're going to have more energy if you're not expending your energy.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're not worrying and thinking and stressing and worrying, because your body's mandate as a living species is protect itself from crises.
Yeah.
Okay, a
Yeah.
tree, whatever, protect itself from a crisis. And if you're in that mindset of, oh this, oh that, oh this, oh that, your body is on full alert with the sympathetic nervous system, and because it's looking for the snake or the tiger, or it's constantly looking for the threat you are thinking is happening.
Right. Okay.
And that's how we start pumping out these fight or flight hormones, and they're exhausting.
Yeah.
It's like you can't go run 10 miles and then come back and be completely rested or whatever. I mean, that's how fight or flight works.
Yeah.
It captivates all resources to get you through this quote unquote crisis, which for you might be that the bus is 5 minutes late, and you have an overreaction to it in your mind, and your body is thinking snake, tiger. But
Yeah.
that's why herbs like the passion flower, California poppy, and skullcap, they have hundreds of properties to them, but in general they're calming and stabilizing,
Yeah.
and
And, and
they
and
help.
accessible as well. Can you easily get
Yes.
these sorts of things, or do you need to order them online, or can you go to your regular herbal shop or
Yes and
health
no.
shop?
I mean, skullcap is pretty easily found, but most tinctures are sold in alcohol, and alcohol,
Yeah.
you can't just squirt it in your mouth. It burns. So that's why we like the glycerin tinctures. But there's one company called Hawaii Farm, again, Pharm, Hawaii
Yeah.
Farm, and
Yeah.
they're in Hawaii, and they have hundreds of herbs, and they do ship.
Okay.
Um, but yes, it's up to you to find them. But
Yeah.
you can find passion flower in a capsule, a dried chopped herb,
Mm,
but it may not be what you want for a meeting at 2 o'clock. It may be too much. You can
right.
open the capsule and tap some out.
Yeah.
That would be fine. The herbs are very dose dependent, and
Yeah.
so you just have to experiment
And
to
of
see.
course, the side effects, the side of that mean this, because obviously when you're taking normal pharmaceutical products, often there is always a list of potential adverse reactions. But you wouldn't have these with a natural herbs, as you say. That wouldn't be the
Well,
case.
anybody can react to anything,
Yeah. Okay.
but when you take a herb that has been used for thousands of years, it's pretty much a question of, oh, I'm just going to drink the entire bottle and have 30 doses. Well,
Yeah.
no, you're not going to do that. You're
Yeah.
going to have side effects.
No, I'm fully trusting. I'm just asking just in case people are listening and they're sort of they have that question in their mind at the moment. So it's good that you answered that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's up to us to find what works in every situation. Like
mm,
if I don't eat for 4 hours after waking up, I swear I get really crabby. Yes, you do get really crabby, so stop doing that. Eat
yeah,
eat a good breakfast within an hour, hour and a half of arising.
yeah,
So, pay attention to what you're already thinking about yourself, about better self-care,
yes,
and a few herbs and some better sleep. Get checked for sleep apnea, turn the lights off in your bedroom, make sure it's pitch black dark, get off of your screens, all the things
yeah,
we already know.
exactly. Well, yes. I mean, for you and I and many others, it's obvious. Sometimes it's good to be reminded, though, isn't it? Because people, you can get into your tunnel vision and just carry on in your life and then forget. So it's always good to have that gentle nudge so that we do those things or don't do those
Uh,
things.
when I get upset with something, like usually a phone call and somebody's upset with me for something, whether it's the power company or whatever, I get very reactivated by that. That's kind of a parental child thing.
Yeah.
So, there's certain patterns of interaction that trigger us. And
Yes.
and the more you know about that kind of trigger, a woman shaking her finger at you and saying, "Why are you so late?" Well, that may be triggering, your mommy thing or whatever. The more you understand, wait, what just
Absolutely.
happened? I was fine 3 minutes ago, and
Mm,
now I'm feeling anxious and having this little irritable bowel pain in my stomach.
yeah.
What just happened? Oh, that's right. I just got triggered with that my daddy thing, whatever. You have to be aware of who you are and when and where and how you are
Yeah.
to be able to say, wait a second, that is not the issue, that is not the case. You have to you have to acknowledge to your own nervous system,
Yeah.
I'm okay, forget that. I understand, yes, I did react to something from 40 years ago,
Yeah.
but I don't need to do that anymore. And
Absolutely.
you can tell your body to move on.
I think the self-awareness is absolutely key. Self-awareness and self-evaluation are just fundamental, really. And I think so many people, me included, in the past, much more so. I wasn't really aware of these things. So I didn't really have any way of coping or managing. So it's always good to have that self-awareness or to wonder, or to think, to reflect. So yeah, that's really useful. Um, I'm going to ask another question here. If someone is listening now and they only change one habit this week, what would you tell them to focus on if it was just one habit?
To begin working with some commitment to getting the carbs out of your diet.
Okay.
The chips, the bread, the pasta, the juice, the dessert, the cinnamon rolls, the cookies, the big plates of rice and beans, the tortillas.
Yeah.
The, these carbs are killing us.
Yeah.
They raise our blood sugar. We get pre-diabetes. They make us overweight and have metabolic syndrome, which shuts down our other hormones. the hips get worn out faster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's the carbs we have to take on, and it's okay, people. It is okay to eat meat and butter. It really is.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
forget what the last 50 years of
Yeah.
medical brainwashing has tried to do to us, to just eat rice and corn and beans and soy and wheat.
Mm,
It's wrong. Those are agricultural products that we don't understand as humans.
yeah.
But we do understand the benefit of a nice grilled hamburger patty with, some butter and, big pile of steamed vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Brilliant. Thank you so much. That's very clear. Um, Beverly, it's been incredibly insightful. All the different advice you've given. I love how you've brought everything back to like simple, practical foundations, for example, that people can easily apply to their daily lives. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at that practicality. And for anybody who's listening, as I already mentioned at the beginning, you can find Beverly at ondietandhealth.com, and that's where she shares hundreds of articles and resources, as well as her long-running podcast, which you have over 200 episodes, is that correct? And it's called
Yes.
Primal Diet Modern Health. Yeah?
Right, because we want we should eat like a human being, but we want the best of modern healthcare,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm all about.
Good. Very good. And so, people out there, if you're listening today, if you can take one thing away from today, let it be this. Let's start with the basics. Your food, your sleep, and how you support your body from day to day. I'd like to thank you very much, Beverly, for coming on to Busy Pro Fast Wellness, and I will bid you farewell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. Well, that's a wrap. What I really enjoyed about this conversation with Beverly today was her constant return to the fundamentals. In a world full of hacks and overwhelm, quick fixes, her message was refreshingly simple. Pay attention to your food, your sleep, your stress levels, and the signals your body is giving you. A couple of things really stood out for me. First, the idea that feeling constantly tired, wired, or foggy shouldn't just be accepted as normal. And secondly, how much consistency with food, sleep, and daily habits can completely change the way we feel and function. I also learned about GABA and the potential power of natural herbs and glycerine-based tinctures. So maybe the takeaway from today is this. Don't underestimate the power of small foundational changes. Sometimes the basics really are the breakthrough. Thanks for listening to Busy Pro Fast Wellness, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.